What's up guys, edrone here, and today we're going to see if bigger is better by testing out the URAV Bushido. Stay tuned. Taking a look at the packaging here, you'll see we have the URAV case here. Everything is in one nice, convenient, easy to carry case. And taking a look, first off, you'll see the URAV drone here, the Bushido. And man, it's a unique looking quadcopter. A little bit bigger than your standard 75 millimeter, just a little bit bigger footprint. We got some larger props on here. It is utilizing the Caddx Turtle camera, which is also going to be recording 1080p high definition recording while transmitting a FPV signal. So very nice looking quadcopter here. Here's the bottom, which holds the 3-cell battery, and you can see we already have the XT30 on here as well. So there's a quadcopter. Here is the 3-cell URAV 300 milliamp LiPo battery that it comes with. There's the balance connector there and the XT30. Now, in the rest of the packaging, you see we get some spare props. We get a, looks like a Velcro strap we can use if this happens to break. We can use this Velcro strap here to secure the battery, so that's a nice little added touch. We get a Phillips head screwdriver and some extra motor screws in case the motor screws come out. Nice little added touch there. And we get a prop removal tool as well, and a XT30 connector that splits off to where we can use 2 of the regular 1S batteries. So you can actually power this off of 2S or 3S. So there's a little connector there, the adapter piece, if you wanted to run this on 2S versus 3S. And here we get the nice instructions in color. Has all our information here. I do like the detailed instructions, how to bind it, and we're going to go over that in this video. We'll show you how to bind to it. And in here we also get the Caddx menu board. So this is going to plug in to the connector right here in the front. I like they've put this connector very easy to get to in the front. And you'll just pull this out here just like so, and you'll plug this into the board, and then you can change the Caddx Turtle settings. Okay, here you can see in the Caddx Turtle settings, the OSD settings. Here's all your different settings: video, camera, resolution you can change, wide dynamic range, auto recording. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. From the factory it comes off, but basically when you plug in a battery, it's going to go ahead and automatically start recording, which is what I want. Make sure you hit save and exit when making any changes. But you can change the camera exposure, the field of view. You can flip flip the camera if you have the camera mounted upside down, and you can change the light frequency as well. But here's the different fields of views, and like I said, make sure you hit save and exit if you make any changes. But here you can see there's quite a bit of settings here. You can change NTSC to PAL. If you want to set up your OSD for the camera, you can do so, which I'm not going to be. I just use the OSD of the flight controller. But definitely easy to use. Now let me go ahead and show you in Betaflight a couple things you want to get set up to get this bound. And this is all out of the factory. This is the way it was set up. D-Shot 600. Motor stop is enabled, so the motors will not spin when armed. I do not like that, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. That way, when I go to arm the quadcopter, the motors will spin. We're at 4.5 motor idle throttle value. We are running 8K, and you see the CPU load here is about 26 to 28%. So a little on the higher side, but shouldn't give us too many issues. Here you can see they've already set up your arming at 180 degrees, so you'll be able to arm this quadcopter basically if it's upside down to get out of trees and flip itself back over in turtle mode. So that's good that they've done that from the factory. They went ahead and given us the craft name, And here you'll see the receiver is the SPI RX support. Now, very important, from the factory, this comes set up with FR Sky D, which is a 8-channel. And I could not get the quadcopter to bind with my radio. I tried every single setting and it would not work. So what you need to do is, if you have FR Sky, change this to FR Sky X. Once you change this to FR Sky X, you're going to click Save and Reboot. Then when you go to bind in the radio, you're going to choose channels 1 through 16, telemetry on. That's going to go ahead and bind your radio to the quadcopter. So now, if you run into this problem right here, basically this means that the firmware, okay, you see how all you see is a little checkbox here. There's no other settings, look, there's nothing here. So what this means is, this means that this flight controller, this particular quadcopter, came preloaded with pre-release firmware. Okay, so how are we going to fix that? Very easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the CLI tab. We're going to type in dump. This is going to basically spill out your whole entire configuration. You need to highlight and copy from where it says dump down. So right here, we're going to scroll all the way down and we are going to copy this configuration. We're going to open up our notepad and we're going to paste it here in the notepad and we're going to save it. I'm going to save this as the URAV config. We're going to click save. This is going to make things a lot easier. So now what we need to do is come back to the setup tab.
Telemetry lost, telemetry recovered.
We need to go to activate bootloader. So basically we need to reflash the firmware. See where it changed over to DFU? So sometimes it gives a little bit of a hiccup there. We're going to click on update firmware. You'll see that the board is the Crazy Bee F4FR for FR Sky. Okay, so we need to come down here and find Crazy Bee F4FR. We're going to load firmware and we're going to flash. Okay, so we have programming successful. We're going to go ahead and click connect. Now everything is not set up correctly. We're going to make this really easy. We're going to go to the CLI tab. We're going to right click. We're going to select paste. And we're going to hit enter. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and click save and hit enter. It's going to save, it's going to come back in. Okay, we're just going to double check. Yep, everything looks good there. Okay, here we go. So, as you can see, we do have a modes here set up for arming switch. So if I click my arming switch here, I'm going to go ahead and click auto and slide this bar over to where this little tick is, and that indicates that when I flip the switch, the motors are going to be armed. Now, same thing for angle mode. I want to slide this to auto. It's going to detect when I hit my switches.
Angle mode.
Okay. That's going to be horizon, so we're going to add that range. I like to have horizon.
Angle mode. Acro.
Alright, so that's all set up.
Angle mode.
And check out my video in the right hand corner about how to set up switches and go into more detail. This is just going to be a quick little get through, okay? And I want to come down here and I want to add a beeper. And we go ahead and flip the switch. Move this over. Alright, our beeper is now set up. We want to do turtle mode, flip over after crash. I'm going to go ahead and select auto on this. And
Oops.
I'm going to move this over just a tad bit.
Oops. Oops.
Okay. Now, very important. Now you have I have all my switches set up the way I want. Now I want to make sure I click save. See, it says saved. So now we've got our switches set up. We've got our configuration all done. Now let's go ahead and show you how to bind to the quadcopter so we can go out and do our flight. Let's go ahead and put this in bind mode. We're going to go ahead and power up the quadcopter. You'll see the LEDs flashing. There's a white button right down there. That is your bind button. Now all you need to do is push down and hold on the bind button for 2 seconds. The LEDs will turn solid. Go ahead and turn on your radio.
Hi Eric, welcome back.
Page over to your menu till you find the setup menu. Come down here where it says bind. Now, for this particular quadcopter, we're going to do channels 9 through 16, telemetry on. It'll start chirping. Now you see the LEDs flashing, indicating that it is bound. Go ahead and stop the bind on the radio. Now, you can go ahead and unplug the quadcopter.
Telemetry lost.
Go ahead and plug it back in.
Telemetry recovered.
And you can see the telemetry recovered, meaning that the quadcopter is properly bound. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and do a couple little flights with this guy. This is the URAV Bushido, and it is an 85mm CINEWHOOP style drone. And we're going to go ahead and do the line of sight test first. It's kind of warm out here in the 90s, but we're in the shade, have a nice little breeze. So let's go ahead and power up the quadcopter here. I have a micro SD card on board. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the line of sight flight. We're going to first take off in angle mode. Alright, right off the bat, a little bit of drift from the wind blowing. You can see the trees moving, but very responsive. Feels pretty good. This is in angle mode. You can see it fighting that wind there, but very responsive. There was a full throttle punch almost into the trees there. As you can see, it's got quite a bit of poke on 3S. This is running the same flight controller as the Mobulus 7, same motors, bigger propellers. So first thing off the bat, I noticed that the throttle's got a little bit of almost like a delay. So like when you punch it, it really does kind of give you a little bit of a delay. So let's go ahead and bring it over here. And let's go ahead and do a full throttle. And as you can see, I had no problems there. No problems with the full throttle. Let's go ahead and try some horizon and some flips. Alright, no problems there with the flips. Definitely got a lot of power on 3S. It doesn't feel sluggish or slow or anything. Bring it back. It's quite responsive. Quite responsive. I'm liking the white color. No problems flipping here. And horizon mode. Whoa! Got a little bit of wind out here, guys, but it's actually handling it pretty well. So far so good. Let's go ahead and put it back in angle mode real quick. And let's see how we can handle here around these trees. No problem there. So it feels really good actually. Even in the breeze, you can see it kind of drifting there with the wind. But yeah, you can see how the wind's just kind of pushing it along. But I'd say the line of sight flight has gone well. So let's go ahead and bring it back in, and we'll throw some goggles on and do a FPV flight of this little guy. And we'll fly acro through these trees and all that fun stuff. But very responsive. See that? I'll go ahead and show you the full throttle, and then to go ahead and change direction so you can see the responsiveness. So pretty responsive. Seems to be handling it pretty well. Yeah. Very fun little flyer so far. It's going to be the ultimate test is when we go ahead and do this FPV flight. We'll go ahead and bring it in for a landing here. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and put the goggles on and we'll do a FPV flight of this little guy. Okay, first I'm going to show you the DVR, and then we'll go into the high def footage, and then at the end of that I'll go ahead and give you my pros and cons. You see in the top corner you'll have the record time and a little white box flashing recording during the flight. The on-screen display looks great. Everything was reading out correctly. We have our amps, our milliamps, our signal connection for our FPV, and our RSSI. And yeah, I do love the way they have the on-screen display set up out of the box. And you know, I was running on 200 milliwatts, no issues with the video whatsoever. Even behind myself flying, no issues. So very happy with the on-screen display and you know, everything to do with the FPV from this little guy. Let's go ahead and show the high def footage here so you can enjoy that for a little bit, and then we'll come back at the end and talk about the pros and the cons. Go over some of the things that I like about this CINEWHOOP quadcopter, and I'll go over some of the things that I'm not too fond of. And you know, spoiler alert, there's not really at this point too many things I'm not fond of. I actually had a very good experience with this little CINEWHOOP. I will say it's pretty durable from what I could tell. I smacked the tree head on a couple times and the frame is still intact, no breaks in the frame. Got a little bit of grass staining there. And the camera's held up well. And I do like the white color. It makes it very easy to spot when it's down in the grass. So as far as flying line of sight, you can lose it a little easier with the white color. Makes it a little bit harder to see when you get up in the skyline. But as far as the contrast of the white on the grass, it's incredibly easy to find once you've downed it somewhere. I like the way it handles. It definitely handles really well for you know, the size of it. Even outdoors here in the wind, I was perfectly able to fly it. Now, would I recommend flying it in the wind? Probably not. You're not going to get, you know, a really enjoyable experience flying it out in the wind. But you can fly it in the wind if you so desire. It will handle it. Acro flying and acrobatics, you know, it's okay. You know, it struggled a little bit recovering from some of the maneuvers, but you know, with these ducks, you're going to have that. But you know, I didn't feel like it was unmanageable at any point in time. So, you know, things I like about it, I do like the bigger size for flying outdoors. I do like the white coloring. I like the design of the overall CINEWHOOP, and I like the durability of it. Now let's go over some of the things that I don't like about it. So, you know, main thing I don't like is this little camera plug here. I don't like where they've tucked it here in the front, because every time I get in a crash, this would come down and get caught in the propellers. So, you know, this probably needs to be moved, you know, underneath the board somewhere out of the way there. Maybe just even like that. But then you run the risk of chopping that wire as well. So, not too crazy about the little camera OSD wire sticking out of the front. But that's an easy fix. Just move it somewhere out of the way. It shouldn't hurt anything on the board, being it's just plastic. But even then, you could probably tuck it underneath the top canopy, because it seems like there's a lot more room underneath here than underneath the bottom board. Let's go over some of another thing I don't like is the you know, the camera tilt is okay, but I feel like an acro, you know, you could definitely use some more tilt, some up tilt. I had it all the way up, and I still felt like I was struggling to get the speed that I wanted to get to do the acro maneuvers. I definitely wouldn't recommend lowering the camera angle at all in acro mode, because lowering it, you know, is going to make it even slower and sluggish. But other things I don't like, I don't like the fact that it uses the same Crazy Bee F4, I think it's the F4 FR board that the Mobula 7 uses. But I will say, I mean, I've only flown a couple packs through it, so time will tell how long it's going to hold up. But after the crashes, you know, it held up fine. It handled the crashes just fine. So, I mean, out of the box experience, very good for this one. You know, can I recommend it? You know, I don't want to recommend something that I haven't flown, you know, numerous times. But if you would say, would I recommend this off of my experience out of the box? Yes, I would recommend this. The only thing that would make me a little bit leery, like I said, is the Crazy Bee F4 board has been known to give issues on 3S. Now, whether or not they fix that, time will tell. But as far as my out-of-the-box review, I'm quite happy with this little guy. And out of the box, I personally would recommend it from the experience that I had. It handled the acro well. I think the bigger propellers here do help a little bit with the recovery from the acrobatic flips and tricks. Gives you a little bit more responsiveness. And when it came to like going full throttle for some of the punches on the line of sight flight, it seemed like when I hit the throttle, I had a little bit of a delay there. I don't know if that's just the bigger props, you know, taking a little bit longer to spin up because they're a little bit more weight. But you know, it definitely took it. You know, it handled it very well. I was very impressed with the way it handled, and I do like the form factor and the flight characteristics of the URAV Bushido. So links for this quadcopter and others will be down in the video description, so please check it out. I'll see if I can get a discount code as well, and I'll put that down there. And thank you guys for watching. Put your comments down below if you've had any experiences with the URAV Bushido and how you've liked it so far. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. More URAV Bushido videos to come on the channel, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, guys, edrone out.